Hello and welcome to Modern Sages Podcast. This episode is so dear to my heart. I'm going to be diving in and sharing a lot more with you about ways to embrace the way of the medicine. Have you ever felt called to do something and it just lights your soul on fire, and yet it scares the living daylight out of you? Or maybe it's something that you want to do or you've experienced and you know that that is part of your soul's expression. And yet the world and the day-to-day things tend to pull you away from that. Well, that is what we're going to be talking about on the podcast today. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Grab your favorite drink and a cozy blanket and just get ready for an amazing conversation. Are you searching? Are you looking for something new, something different? Are you being called to your ancestral roots? The Modern Sages podcast is a tribe of women that believe in exploring beyond the broken constructs of society. We believe in empowering women to embrace the medicine within, all with an open mind, baby. In the past episode, I shared a lot about the heaviness of what I was experiencing, as well as kind of like this dark night of the soul that I was going through and just trying to navigate and moving into this space. And I feel like it's good to acknowledge that not everything in life is butterflies and rainbows, and that we all go through those experiences. And our souls came here to learn and to grow. And I always say this with every client that I have, is that we are a spirit who came here to have this human journey, which means we came here to experience, like our higher self, our soul, our God consciousness, whatever you want to call it, drops down into this meat suit and is experiencing physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual all at once. So it's something that we're constantly going through and constantly learning and growing and moving and progressing. And in the past episode, I shared about soul contracts and how understanding that and sitting with that has helped me find a better peace, a better understanding, really navigating through what I was going through. And I think that we can all, I don't know, kind of lean in that space of when we are going through a dark night of the soul, or when we do feel like we're stuck, why it's important for us to find ways to embrace our medicine. And when I say medicine, I know like in the Western world, we talk about medicine being something that we take, a pill to heal our body, or a pill to help us with a headache, or maybe we have a sickness. And so we take prescriptions to help our body come back to balance in whatever way, that shape or form. But when I say the medicine, I'm talking about the medicine that our soul came here with. And when we tap into that divine medicine, we tap into this secret power that we innately have. And it's our soul's pure expression. It's how we can navigate this life and remember that we truly are a huge, expansive being in this physical body, in this physical journey with those around us. And in ancient times, and I'll link a podcast that talks more about what that even means, but there were medicine men and women who would help remind people of this beautiful prize, this beautiful space within, and how when we can access that, we can channel in divine love, divine healing, divine light, all kinds of beautiful and wonderful experiences. And but our soul came here to experience the heavy. It came here to experience the duality. It came here to experience the dark nights of the soul. It came here to experience the anger that I was feeling, and the betrayal, and the dishonesty, and the heaviness. And that's part of what we came here to experience. So, what it really leans into is, what is it, or how are we going to move forward? And I'm actually wearing the podcast t shirt today, and it says "Embrace the medicine within." And I absolutely love it. It's such a great reminder. And those are going to be coming on sale shortly. I'm really excited about those. So leaning into the space is really we come here to have this life force energy and to experience it. And this is something that I have learned over and over and over again with Candace. So back in October, I had some things going on that I just felt like I just felt this cringing and I could feel myself pulling back my energy, my soul's expression of who I am, of what I want to do, of connection, of channeling, of this creative energy. And really this life force energy is what gives us the space to go. It gives us the juice of life. It helps us feel connected and inspired and intimate and creative and flowing. And I just felt like part of me was like shoving it all back in as a way to protect myself. And I think that we all go through experiences like that, but I could like visually see like, okay, I don't want to get hurt again. I'm going to pull this back and this and this and this. And it wasn't anyone else's fault. It was my experience and it was my inner child being like, I don't want to be hurt again. So I'm going to pull back. Or I don't feel like I'm being hurt in this situation. So I'm going to pull back and protect myself. And so after I did that, all of a sudden, my desire for sessions, my excitement for life, to create, to do podcasts, to journal, to do videos, like all of it just completely stopped. And I felt like who I am as an individual doesn't matter. And what's the point? And I would just say, it's not that I don't want to live. I just don't have a lot of life. I just don't have a lot of life force energy right now. Like, I just feel like I'm just here and I'm just surviving and I'm just living life. And it really reminded me when I was going to college and I was working in a dental office and I was giving my attention and my time to those things that didn't fulfill me. And I knew I wanted to do sessions. I would do them every now and then, and those are what lit me up. And then I would take a step back and go back to the routine of life and it would make me feel so numb and so unaccomplished. Wouldn't be the word, but just so uninspired and just so I don't want to say the word ordinary, but kind of ordinary, just like blah, like just moving throughout life. And I found that as I cut off that flow, as I tucked it all back into my core, I began to feel that way. And that life force flow was no longer there. I didn't feel excited. I just kind of felt like, meh, whatever. Life is what it is. Like, life is kind of feeling empty and meaningless right now. And no matter what my husband tried to do, he tried to help me. We talked about things. It was something that I had to explore and to experience on my own. And so finally on January 1st, I just decided, I really got to allow myself to sit in this, but also to move forward because I feel like it's really good for us to sit with our emotions and to feel them and to get to the core of things. But at the same time, if you sit for too long, all of a sudden you can kind of start to fester and get stuck there. And that's how I was feeling. Is I was feeling completely inadequate, just like why what's the point? And I think that's part of the beauty of the medicine is those things that call to us are a natural part of our soul's expression. And so when we close that down, it's like we're closing down a huge part of who we are. So if you're listening and you maybe wanted to get into channeling or Reiki or writing, or maybe you want to become a nurse, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, I have too many things going on that it's not liable to do that, but my soul longs to take care of people like that. Maybe you want to do, I don't know, all kinds of things, right? There's things that our soul calls to us to do, and that is part of the medicine that will help us feel more alive, but also help us help others at the same time. It's like these soul expressions, these soul contracts are here for such a huge purpose. And it's so easy to get caught and stressed and stuck in those aspects. And after that, I was like, okay, I have to just take off social media. I can't be on there. I can't be scrolling. I need to be intentional and I need to set myself up powerfully and and in this space of flow so that I can revitalize myself. And so I started to do that. I started to use St. John's wort as an oil that I would rub all over my whole body. And then I would listen to music and meditate. And I didn't try to have any journeys. I didn't try to have an answer when I meditated. I just listened to music and I put that St. John's wort on and I just laid there. And it started to feel better. And during one of those times, I had this deep desire to call one of these girls that I had worked with before and just ask her if she would be willing to do a session on me, like if she would be willing to help me boost my energy level. And I am like one of the last people who will actually go to somebody for that just because I had bad experiences, and I also think that part of us embracing the medicine within is we don't always have to go to other people for our answers. And I feel like a lot of times in the energy world and in the spiritual community, people tend to go to people when really what they're seeking is inside themselves. And this was such an eye opener for me because I asked somebody else to help me. And I felt really inspired and really called. And as I was meditating, I saw her face in my mind, and her name is Carrie. And so I reached out to her. She was totally willing and totally excited. And so as we got together, I was kind of just telling her a little bit about where I was at and just this low life force flow. Like, I was like, I'm not like I don't want to live, but I'm just not excited to live right now. Like, why? And that's just not who I am as a human being. And so she sat with me and she's like, okay, well, I'm going to do a meditation with you. And it was so powerful because it wasn't like she was doing anything for me. She just helped me get to this specific place in a different way that allowed me to access my truth. And that's why I've loved working with Candace and I love the shamanic path of journey work is because it's not like you're giving somebody the message, not like you're giving somebody the answer, but you're leading them to this space where they can really connect into their soul. They can connect into that deep divine God consciousness that lies within each and every one of us. That's the medicine. And I had tried to do journey work on my own, but sometimes you just need a little push or you just need someone else's assistance to help you, not to become reliant upon them, but to help guide you when you feel stuck. And I have a whole new profound respect for that because for a while I was like, I don't know about that. I don't want to go to someone else and have them do the work for me when really my soul is the one who wants to do the work. And my soul is the thing that came here to learn and to grow. Um, but with that, so she had me do this meditation where we walked into this meadow and I was greeted by an animal. And in this meditation, I was greeted by a bear. And this bear was so loving. She was so kind and she was so soft. And she showed up. And normally I have like a moose that kind of works with me spiritually, but it was a bear this time. And so I just took time to pet the bear. And instantly, all of a sudden, I felt like I was just engulfed with a huge hug from this beautiful bear. And all of a sudden, Carrie's like, I feel like the bear wants you to get on its back and ride with you. So I was like, yeah, I was feeling that too. So we got onto the back of this bear, and the bear led me to a river. And as I was looking in the river, or as I went up to the river, the bear showed me the fish that were in the water. And I kind of just sat there looking at the water and watching the fish. And all of a sudden, I felt this huge opening above my head of this channel that I had closed off. And I went to China, and during that time, we went to those things where you put your feet in and the fish eat like your dead skin or whatever. But it was so fascinating because all of a sudden I became aware of this river. And it was like I was watching the fish in the river, but it was this hole or this opening on top of my crown chakra, on top of my head. And all of a sudden, I started feeling this tingling coming down from the top of my head. And it was like pulsing this energy through my body. And I began to notice that these fish were eating away any of this heaviness, this darkness, this sadness, this betrayal, any of this disbelief. It was like it was pulsing and they were eating away the block that I had in that aspect of true connection. And it was so fascinating because I could feel it emulating in my whole body. And with each little fish that would bite away and to take that away, it was like I was being brought back to life again. Like that heaviness, that density was being revitalized. And I don't even know how else to describe it, but it was so powerful. And it was everything that I needed. And then Carrie said, okay. So I was telling her what was experiencing, and she was just holding sacred space for me. She wasn't doing anything or guiding. She was there to hold sacred space so that I could receive. And then all of a sudden, as I looked into the water, once that felt complete, I looked back into the water. And as I looked at my reflection, I saw my little girl self. And it was like this portal of energy opened, and I kind of just like leaned in and like fell through into this water, into this void. And honestly, I don't remember fully what happened in that space, but I just remembered that I was with my little girl self and I was hugging her and I was just letting her feel loved and accepted for who she was instead of who other people thought she had to be. And I was just giving her a lot of love and support. And it wasn't like we were even talking, like it was just this immersion of our souls back together. And it felt so healing and so pure and so complete. And coming back out of that, we talked about things. We talked about that and just how that was so profound and so healing. And she, did like a little bit of Reiki, held sacred space for me. And then she just kind of shared a couple of things that were on her mind. And we talked about a lot of things, but as I'm recording this and as I was thinking about it this morning, this is the part that really stuck out to me that I wanted to share. And it was the fishes, and it was them eating away the dead to quite literally be bringing life back into my soul. And there's no other way to describe it than it was so soul cleansing and so soul healing that there's no words to put on it. It was so powerful and it was so beautiful. And it just reminded me of the aspect that sometimes we do get stuck and sometimes we can't move forward or we don't know how to. And, there's times where we feel disconnected. And maybe for those who read scripture or who pray, maybe there are times where you're not feeling like you're being heard or you're not feeling satisfied or connected. Or maybe someone who does yoga where they go through this spurt of like, man, I just don't feel that pulsing of energy like I used to. Nothing is bad or wrong about that. It's if we make ourselves bad or wrong that holds us back from being able to experience that pulsing of the life force flow that comes within us. And so, on top of that, it just comes to show that like we are so connected. And when we are feeling physically drained, or we are feeling heavy or dark, or maybe we just don't feel like we have that connection, or we're just kind of lacking that desire, that inspiration to create in life, how can you bring balance back to your body, your mind, your soul, and your emotions? Because leading up to that point, I had been working with a fitness coach and really trying to eat higher vibration food, drinking a lot more water, working out every day. So on top of that, I was working on my physical self. And then when my physical body started to feel more aligned, then all of a sudden I had all these emotions and I'm like, oh, this is where it stemmed from. And I didn't realize that. And so then I'm able to work with that and just start slowly bringing this aspect of love and this aspect of life back. And none of it is bad or it's wrong. It just is part of the human journey. But what we have control over is how we move forward through it and what we make that mean. And for me, I honestly needed some help. I needed some assistance. I couldn't do it alone. And it's also really great to be inspired by who you call into your space and who you allow into that sacred energy. Because you don't just want anyone and everyone diving into your space and trying to give you messages and channel and do things for you, because it takes away your agency. But at the same time, there are times where we get stuck or we get afflicted or we just don't know. And it's great for us to have that vitality, to have that remembrance, or to have someone else hold that sacred space for us. And on in that aspect, it's just there's so much of who we are that we tend to hide. We tend to shut down. And that's one of the big things that I learned is what it means to embrace the medicine and to embrace the way of the medicine. Is if there's something that calls to you that is lighting your soul on fire, or maybe you have been very wounded in a specific area that you really loved and you felt so called to, and it helped you feel so successful and excited and passionate. And then all of a sudden you're like, man, I have so much wounding there. I'm so closed off in that space. This is just a reminder that where our greatest strengths are also lie our greatest wounds. And that's part of the journey here, is to navigate and to go to those places that we don't want, to embrace the shadow, to embrace those aspects of who we are that we just maybe want to push away or hide or let go so we don't have to experience it, or we're afraid of what we might find. And that also is the medicine. That which we're the most afraid of brings the medicine, because it allows us to rely on something so much bigger than our mind, so much bigger than what we in this human meat suit define ourselves as. It's in those terrifying and those scary and that pulsing, that scared, like that call that's like, oh, this comes from the core of my being and it scares the living daylight out of me. But I know it's part of my plan. It's part of not even my plan. I don't like that word, but it's part of my soul's expression. And yet it terrifies me. That is the medicine. And when we give ourselves permission to access that, we are surrendering to the flow much higher than we. And that's where we can find satisfaction and growth and commitment and love and excitement. And a week later, I gave myself permission to integrate, and I just decided, I don't even know if it was a week later. A few days later, I decided, okay, it's time. It is time to start having sessions again. And at first, I started with people that I've met with before, people that I felt comfortable with, because it had been like 2 months without having sessions. And so all of a sudden, going to someone that I know nothing about, not no. And but the thing is like when I go into sessions, it's not like I always remember things anyways from past sessions, but someone that has already had experience with me, so that I didn't have to set an expectation. I could just open myself up and just trust, and to just allow that energy to move through me and to open and to activate what I was experiencing, and to bring healing back into my light, to do the thing that scares me but brings the most satisfaction. After 6 years of having sessions, I still get nervous every time. And I wake up and I'm like, oh, it's so amazing, but it's so intimate. It's so vulnerable on the person receiving the message and on my side. But it's also what brings the most fulfillment and light and aliveness. And that is part of my soul's expression. And I learned in my past podcast, as I was speaking and sharing what I was going through, I learned that channeling is such a great way of healing, that speaking out loud is such a great way for my own healing. And it brings guidance and answers and understanding. And channeling is an actual part of my soul's expression that I love, and that helps me feel fulfilled, but it also helps others find fulfillment. It helps others access this part of them in which they might not always remember or they might not see at that time. And it kind of gave me a better perspective too, because I was like, well, I don't want to deliver messages and have people always relying upon me. I want them to be able to embrace that medicine. But as I know, I can have two aspects of that. I can have classes and courses and do workshops that allow people who are wanting to deepen their understanding of themselves. And then there are people who are seeking guidance and help and healing from departed loved ones. I don't have to separate those. Those can be both parts of who I am, but channeling is the medicine. And when I say is the medicine, I feel like that closes me off from expansion. But channeling is a part of the medicine that I have on my medicine shelf. Herbs. Herbs have become such a passion of mine, and I never thought that would be the case. But I absolutely love it. I love the aspect of herbs, and I'll talk to someone, or even during my sessions now, different herbs will pop up, and so I'll tell them about it and how that can help them, and every time it's so spot on with what they're looking for. But that's part of medicine. That's part of the tools that I have in my medicine bag or on my medicine shelf that I can take down and say, "Hey, look, here's this. This is going to help bring balance to your body, to your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual self." But if I haven't gone through it, then I don't know. I started taking holy basil because I was in such a low spot. And that has been so helpful and so happy and so healthy. And that will be something that I recommend people if they're in a really dark, depressive spot. You're like, "Hey, have you tried holy basil? Have you looked at the benefits of it?" I don't say you need to do this. I say, let me send you some resources about holy basil that will help you if it feels right for you. I have different herbalists. I have different people. I have different tools that I can send to people if it feels right for them. And that's the thing, is if it feels right for them. That doesn't say, "Hey, you have to do this." It's, "Hey, this is an option. This is an idea. How does that resonate with you? And if it does, how do you want to move forward? And if it doesn't, then don't do it." But giving tools and resources, offering up things that I have learned that are in my medicine bag to help other people. But it's also something that I am actively using in my own life, and that I am putting the utmost respect and honor and excitement towards, and my time and energy on my own when I'm doing things. I'm like, "Oh, I want to learn about this and this and this." But then those also tend to be the things that I can rely upon to help others as well as myself. And that's the same thing with journey work. And journey work is all about being able to raise your consciousness or your spirit to this, it's like this plane of existence that's not bound by the physical body. It doesn't mean that you are completely like out of your body, but it's kind of like astral traveling, or it's like projection, or it's like you being able to lift your higher self out of your body, still connected to your body, still honoring every aspect of your body, to walk the plane of spirit, to bring in healing and understanding and guidance, and then bring it back. And you will literally feel a difference in your body. Just like the fish eating away the doubt and the fear and the worry, I could feel it pulsing in it, activating, like literally breathing life back into my existence. And I know and on the blog, I'll also post some different journeys and some different ways of like getting used to that, or practicing, I should say, learning more about journey work. And I hope to have courses and classes about that and helping people step into that and diving into that aspect. But the one thing that I have learned is that we all come here with medicine. We all come here with a way that ignites and lights our soul on fire. And that medicine heals us. It helps us be more connected to a spirit, to our body, to those around us, to God, to Mother Earth. But it also is the medicine that we share with others to ignite their medicine inside. We don't do the healing for them. We can say, "Hey, look at this. It's time for you to go and you to explore and whatever you feel called to do. But I see you and I hear you. And it's time to activate that medicine." to live a soul-fulfilled life, to live a life that you're courageous and responsible and happy to live. You wake up in the day being like, "Yeah, let's go, let's do it." And then there are days of rest, and that's fine too, don't make yourself wrong. Like today. Today is a Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Curtis and I got up at like 7, we went to the gym. And then today we're like, "Okay, we both need a day just to sleep in till 8 o'clock and then get up and go." There's days of rest and there's days of activity and days of creation, days of movement. But when we know and we feel that heart's calling, when we feel that medicine, when we feel that which makes us feel most alive, if we shut it down, if we keep shutting it down, our body will reject us. I was feeling that my body was rejecting the fact that I was rejecting myself and my true expression and my flow in my life and what made me excited. So this is just a reminder that if you have that thing that makes you feel terrified and more alive than ever, lean into that medicine. And if you need tools and resources, like, I'm here to help. I'm here to give you resources and tools, but ultimately it's your journey. It's your expression. And you can lean upon other people, you can talk to people, you can try to work things out, but ultimately it's coming back into that sense of you, that sense of flow. And you are the only person. There are I lessons and there are we lessons. There are some lessons in life that only you can learn on your own. If someone goes through a breakup or a loss or that deep devastation of losing, no matter who you talk to, no matter how many people you surround yourself with, at the end of the day, you will always go back to you. And those I find are the deep, soul, profound, soul conscious, soul life giving lessons. And it's hard because as someone who loves to help people and to heal, and I know for like parents who have children, like when your kid is suffering and they are going through that I lesson, you want it to be a we lesson. But ultimately, all you can do is honor and support and hold sacred space for that individual to embrace the I lesson, to embrace what their soul came here to experience. Going back to Carrie, holding that sacred space for me. She was there to support me, but she wasn't the one doing it. She wasn't the one in the lesson trying to tell me, "Oh, you have to do this and this and that and that." She said, "Here, let me get you here what I feel inspired, and then let your soul take over." And those are the I lessons. Those are the soul lessons. And of course, we have we lessons, relationships. We have things that we're learning and things that we're going to be improving on and trying in different aspects. But at the end of the day, even those become I lessons because you have to be the one to implement that. But life doesn't have to be you're on your own, you're alone. It's just honoring those sacred times when you might be forced into this I lesson. And it's not always fun. And it's not always easy. I'm eating cherries today. Probably shouldn't while I'm recording though. I don't think you want to hear me smacking my lips together. Um, these cherries, I love cherries because they're just such a. I was reading the book The Medical Medium, and in his concept is the spiritual truth of cherries is a way. Oh, this is fascinating. Is a way of supporting relationships and honoring them. So he was saying that like if someone's going through grief. Sorry, I always sneeze twice. If someone is going through grief and you can give them flowers, you can give them chocolates, but there's something about cherries that are so fulfilling that they just bring this, I don't know, just this different energy of life. And when I was reading that, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So then he said, so next time you have someone who's struggling, instead of getting them chocolate, get them a bag of cherries. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. Anyways, that was random tangent. I don't know why I talked about that, but the medical medium book is really cool too. Learning about the benefits, the physical benefits and the spiritual benefits of eating fruits and vegetables. It's really good. Um, anyhow, I think I'm at this point rambling, as you probably know. Um, I just want to sit with that and see if there's anything else that comes into my space. As of right now, I feel like that's good. Um, in the next couple days, I will be recording another one all about what I have learned with connecting to my ancestors. And I've had an ancestor come forward who wants me to be the voice for her and to channel and to talk for her about her experience navigating wounds, navigating religion when she uprooted her whole life and maybe was not as pleased with the outcome. And I mean, I think that's why I'm so drawn into that space because I was in that exact same, you know, my life was going that exact same way. And she started showing up in my room and I noticed where she was at. And finally, I embraced that and talked to her. So, yeah, it's very interesting. So that's going to be the next podcast, and I'm really excited to share about it. But really, the purpose of this podcast is to just show how we can connect into the medicine within in the modern era. Because once again, in ancient times, I feel like connection to spirit, to ancestor, to the herbs, to Mother Earth was just part of the collective expression. And then it got shut down and closed, and so many since 2020 are seeing that the structure and the organizations and the it has to be this way and that way and this way isn't working for many people. And in fact, it's not healthy for their mental health, their physical, emotional, spiritual health, and they're being drawn back into other sacred truths. And so this podcast really is just me sharing how I'm embracing my medicine and hopefully giving you ideas of what you can do to embrace your medicine. So if you have been feeling lost or a little dead inside, what is your heart calling you to do? What is that expression? What is that thing that terrifies the living daylight out of you, and yet you keep being drawn back to it? There must be some reason, some form of expression, some new aspect of who you are to learn and to grow and to integrate this beautiful soul lesson. So, having that been said, my beautiful soul tribe, I absolutely love you. For those who have joined me on my Facebook page, I have been quiet. I apologize. As I said, I'm getting everything back and up and running again. It's little by little, so I don't get overwhelmed or overworked. But feel free to join the Modern Sages podcast, Embrace the Medicine Within, on Facebook as well. Anyways, I love you, my beautiful soul tribe, and I hope that you have an amazing day. And I will be sending all the love and support to you. Blessings. Do you feel called to connect to your medicine within? Have you wanted to strengthen your spiritual gifts? Are you looking for ways to incorporate the sacred into your everyday life? Maybe do you want to have like-minded friends in a tribe who can connect with you? Modern Sages Soul Tribe is dedicated to spiritual seekers like yourself who are embracing the medicine within. Now, in this tribe, we are going to be doing moon gatherings, amazing spiritual gift giveaways, connecting to a soul tribe, as well as hosting mystery school classes. If you are feeling called to connect to the soul tribe, I will leave a link for you in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to Modern Sages Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us online. Blessings.